Okay, welcome guys to the second last session of the day. For this session, we have Amar Saxena, the Associate Professor at Indian Institute of Management, Amritsar. And in this session, he's going to cover the skills required for successfully navigating the AI dominated world. Amar has 23 years of experience spread across the world of corporates and academia. He has worked over 19 years in the field of data science, covering financial services and retail sector. He has also consulted banking corporations in the area of analytics for banks like Bank of America, JP Morgan, PNC, Westpac Bank, ABN AMRO, etc. He has also developed, nurtured, and managed large analytic teams for global financial corporations. So, without taking much time, let's hear it from Amar himself. Welcome, Amar.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction. And welcome everyone for this session. Let me try to share my screen. I hope everyone is able to hear me properly.
Yes, you are audible.
Great. And you are able to see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. So without much ado, let's start. Good evening, and I hope you all are healthy and keeping safe in this very difficult times. This variant is really very. I really wish that you are all safe, and I'm sure you have had a wonderful learning journey over the last 2 days. This is indeed an incredible initiative by Analytics India magazine, and a much needed one as well. And that makes my task even difficult, and tough to follow such great speakers who have graced the podium. But still, I'll try to ensure that you can take some important points out of my talk, right? A bit about myself, I worked for over 19 years in the corporate world after my PhD from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. And now for the last 4 years, I am into academics, facilitating the learning journey of the management students through courses in data science, marketing, statistics, consumer behavior, and so on. I've also had the unique opportunity of interviewing hundreds of candidates for various corporate roles when I was a manager. And I've interviewed many prospective management students, including IM aspirants, like we just completed our admission process for IM. I'm also a mentor to many college students and young professionals. So what I'm going to be talking today comes primarily from my experience. The technique that I'll follow is I'll pose some questions which I keep on hearing when I'm interacting with young professionals, and then I will try to answer them. Okay. And towards the end, around 5-10 minutes, we'll definitely keep for some interaction in case you have any questions. One of the thing is that you all are passionate about data science. You all, each and every one of you has taken the initial steps into this beautiful world, right? But the question which I keep on hearing at times is this a fad or is it a fact? It's a nice question. It could be a fact. Like, for example, I'm reminded in the 90s, so at that time, SAP used to be the in thing. Anybody, would do a training in SAP and that was your passport to a well-paying job, typically in America. Then suddenly one fine day, this beautiful lake dried up and people were left with nothing. So will data science also follow this kind of a thing? Let's look at it from two different angles. The first one is the demand side. Obviously, we know that there are enough and more opportunities in this field, right? We know that. We keep on hearing. And one of the things that it hits again and again is the number of opportunities, the number of jobs which are available. And I'm also, and people show you that, like I'm going to show you now, the number of jobs which are there, which are listed on LinkedIn, or for example, on Naukri, or on Monster, or on Indeed. And not just these. In fact, everyone is talking about the opportunities in this field and their well-paying job, like this article from which I picked up from Analytics India magazine says the kind of salaries which are there. So I will leave it at that. I'll not belabor the point. Everybody knows about it. Yes, we all understand there are a lot of opportunities. The other way to look at it is how has our life changed? Are we still behaving and acting in the same manner like we were earlier? Right? And that is where in fact, let's remain on this slide. Let's pause for a moment. Let's analyze our lives. Has it changed over the last 5 years? The emphatic answer is yes. Look at the amount of video you now consume. How much are you on the net now? Phone 5 years back was still sometimes used for talking. Now it is just used for connecting with others. Not talking, but connecting. How were you accessing the net? On mobile or on laptop? Were there so many startups? Life has definitely changed. Let's look at four different scenarios. The first one I'll take, something close to my heart. I've worked in this area, insurance. When you typically have a breakdown of a car or you meet with an accident, you are driving a car and untoward thing happens, you meet with an accident. How much time right now will it take for you to claim insurance after your car gets repaired and everything? In a best case scenario, it will take you at least 1 week, 7 days to 10 days. And the most likely estimate is around 15 days. What if I say that from the point of accident, you will receive your claim in 15 minutes? Forget about 15 days, 15 minutes. Won't that be wonderful? Or let's take another example. Right now, when I go to renew my insurance, everybody pays the same amount. It really depends on how old the car is. I might be a very risky driver, but you are a very safe driver. Aren't you subsidizing me in some way or the other? Because the chances of accident in my case are much more. How can I differentiate between them? Let's take another example, banking. When I was in HSBC, managing a team in HSBC for North America, this we did for New York region. What we did was the camera which is there at the entrance, we just upgraded to a HD camera. So we would get the feed, and very simple, very, very simple. Now, if you look at it, and this we did in the around 12, 14, 15 years back. The image that is being captured, we digitized it and then matched it with the image of the customer that we had in our records. Once we were able to find a match, like you do in Facebook nowadays, the face match, we were able to know what is the net worth of this individual, how important is this customer. And if that customer was important or not simple, whatever it is, a message will go to the branch manager. Hey, and then it will be, hello, Mr. XYZ, it's so nice to see you again. Now imagine person XYZ. Hello, Mr. Anil. Great to see you here in our bank. Now look at Anil. The guy has just walked into the branch. He doesn't even know this manager, and the manager is addressing him. Last time you had actually were inquiring about the personal loan. Were you able to get it? Can I help you in some way? Look at the kind of customer experience this simple fact is starting to do. Let's take another example. In 2005, something very strange happened. For the first time, a medical patent was given. What is so special about it? This patent was given to a software, not a molecule. It was actually, for diabetes. And that opened kind of the floodgate. There are around 400 to 450 companies right now working in this field, which is now known as digiceuticals. Or waste management. There was a study which MIT did. There is waste generated by our cities, right? So they looked at the waste that is generated by Seattle. And how far does it travel? How long does it take to travel? And they were surprised that Seattle, which is in the northwest corner of Europe, of US, waste travels all the way down to the far eastern, southeast coast of US, Florida. It travels for around 7 days. Now, when I know where my waste is going, I'll be able to manage it better. These are just some of the cases which are there, right? So, so our life has changed, and everything is changing around us. Yeah, that is okay. But will it continue changing? Yes, our life has changed. That's okay. But will it continue changing? My contention is definitely yes. If at all, the pace of change will increase dramatically in the years ahead. Do I hear you saying why? Very, very simple reason. It is going to explode exponentially. From 4G, we are going to move into 5G. We all have heard about 5G. It is going to change our lives like never before. Imagine broadband speeds of 250 Mbps. Right now we are at 50, 55, 60 Mbps. Imagine the kind of things that you can do when you have that kind of speed hitting you, 250 Mbps, even more sometimes. Convergence of devices, multiple devices, operating out of the same thing. This is going to change our life like never before. So if you thought that your lives have changed, you are in for a surprise. It's going to change even more dramatically in future, right? Okay, so I have changed, my life has changed, but are the companies also changing? Pretty valid question. Are the companies also changing? Let's look at some of the aspects. Let's look at the management philosophy. Over the last 100 years, we have the management philosophy also has kept on evolving. The production concept, which was by propagated by Ford Model T, Henry Ford, where the Model T, the manner in which it was produced. Then it went on in the 30s, 40s to the product concept, which was actually popularized by General Motors. Then in the 50s, 60s was the era of selling concept. The 80s saw the concept of marketing. Are we still in the marketing concept? My thesis is that we now live in the age of customer experience. Everything around us really depends on this age of customer experience. A very simple question. What is the product of your company? Take any company. Take Unilever. Do they sell soaps? Do they sell shampoo? No. Or Swiggy, for example, are they in the food delivery business? No. Is Apple phone all about mobile tech? No. Then what are they all about? They are all, nowadays, all the companies are going to be, if they are not already, they have to be about customer experience, period. That's all. Let's take, Kodak, for example. Before Kodak came onto the picture, this is the manual of how to take a photograph. What did Kodak came? The Eastman Kodak, he came, just press this button, we will take care of the rest. Look at the customer experience that happens, right? So did they invent a great camera because of which they were successful? Camera, the product is a secondary thing, but the primary thing that they had hit upon was the customer experience. Let's look at another thing. We all know this great person whom I respect tremendously, Steve Jobs, Apple. So we all know about this person. And Apple is popular for what? Overpriced, underspec devices with poor battery life. Yet what happens? People stand in queue for hours to get a mobile phone. What is it? Their proposition, it just works. You're never going to have any issue like hanging. Or let's take another example. I don't know how many of you, I have one at my home, so Nintendo Wii. You have Xbox, you have all other things, but Nintendo still maintained its area. Low performing game console with few titles, yet it was good. What did people say? It's just cool. It's so nice to play on it. The kind of customer experience which was there. So essentially, my thesis really is experience is the product, not any other thing. So for any company to survive in the world that is going to come in future, it's all about product experience. What is the experience you are giving to the people? This is the management philosophy. That is how it has changed. Let's look at the management paradigm. What is the structure of the companies typically? There is a CEO, then there are support functions, there is HR, there is marketing, there is operations, there is finance. These are all. And when I was a consultant, when I was consulting during the early part of this last decade, so for 4 or 5 years, I was a consultant and I have consulted many large financial companies and banks. I saw this actually happening in front of my eyes, where all this, instead of this kind of a structure, they started operating towards, the data science starting to become the center and all other aspects. Let me take an example. For RBS, I helped them in setting up their audit team. What was the earlier philosophy? Audit? Oh, I'm the police. I'm going to go after you once a year. Look at your books. That is changing. The new paradigm is I am the audit team. You are the marketing team. You are going to get the revenue. I am going to guide you in terms of how you can do it in a compliant manner. I am here to support you. It's a completely different thing. Or, for example, let's look at the finance controllers. They are also, they would actually come with a microscope and say, how much are you spending? Where are you spending? As compared to that, the new philosophy really is, I am here to let you do your job in a fiscally responsible manner. The entire thing is changing, the entire way the organizations are working are changing. And the heart of that is data science. That is what it is all about. So the companies also are changing. How is the company changing? Organization earlier, what 20 years back, what were companies talking about? Improve yourself. Six Sigma, process control, lean methodology, regimentation, process orientation. From there, we are changing to companies have to continuously reimagine themselves. Blockchain, it could be automation, RPA or design thinking. It's a complete sea change. It's not the incremental gains that I'm looking at. It's actually a very change in the manner in which we approach our customers. Segmentation, oh, we are talking about micro segmentations now. 1,000 segments and managing each and every 1,000 segments. That's a big change. What really it means from a knowing culture of the people who are in the organization, you need to move to learning culture. And this is a big change which is happening. We have to every day keep on learning and reinvent things. Data is at the center of all these things, right? Okay, so we get it. So, okay, data science is not a fact, it is something there to stay. What are its characteristics? That will be the next question that comes up. What are its characteristics? This new world that is going to be there in which we are living and the next 2 3 years, what are its characteristics? Good question. For that, let me look at my journey, my analytic journey 20 years back, say 15 years back. If somebody were to come to me and ask, give me some advice, how can I join this beautiful world of analytics? My answer would be pretty straightforward. You know what? Learn SAS, learn logistic regression. You will be able to get into a good, decent organization easily. What would be your answer now? Will it be so simple? First of all, the data itself is so different. Unstructured data, the variety of data from where it comes. And there are so many techniques that have been developed. Linear regression, logistic regression, k nearest neighbor, decision tree, Bayes, random forest, neural network, scalar vector machine, not to forget about the bagging algorithms and the boosting algorithm. Wow, what an incredible range. And all these techniques have developed over the last 10 years. The world has definitely changed and shifted. So the world has become much more complex. Now, if we think that our journey over the last 100 years or whatever years has been this, the next few years are going to be an uphill battle. This is what your path is going to be. Are you ready to get into this? This is a significantly more complex world. The pace of change has increased, and there is a tremendous amount of uncertainty which is there in this. So, obviously, the next question comes is, how do I navigate through this world? Right? Great. You understood. Data science is not a fad. It's changing. It's continuously there. Companies are changing, the requirements are changing, they're trying to reimagine themselves. How do I navigate through this world? Good question. You have to prepare yourself for an uncertain world. So the primary skill required to manage is how do you manage uncertainty, right? The skills that will be required are a combination of hardware and software skills, hard skills and soft skills. Mm, Hard skills, you have seen that, and there are a lot of tutorials also available. In fact, I will couple of very good tutorials are from Analytics India magazine on YouTube. You might want to watch these videos. Uh, there is a lot of focus on it. Like, for example, you need to have good mathematical skills, good statistical skills. You need to know programming, Python, R, learn the popular algorithm, especially logistic regression neural network. More importantly, practice what you learn. There are so many people, sorry, they know about, how to, they know about what is logistic regression. Ask them to develop a model, they'll not be able to do it. Extremely important. Leave a footprint behind. What is your score on GitHub? How engaged are you on GitHub? It is mandatory. And keep upskilling yourself. I'll give you an example. There was this student of mine. He is now pretty big in the field of digital marketing. I was talking to him and he said, Amar, you know what? If I don't study even for 1 week, I'm starting to get behind. There is so much happening in our industry. In fact, in all the industry, there's so much happening. You have to keep on upskilling yourself. Mathematics and statistics, it might sound very simple. I, interviewed around 300 candidates, for CAT in the recently over the last 2-3 months. You won't believe it. One of the questions I would ask them is, mean, median, mode, and people would not know about that. I'll come to that about later. One of the most important skills I feel that you should be having is Excel. How well do you know Excel? Yes, that spreadsheet software that is part of MS Office, I'm talking about that. It's the most widely used analysis software in the world. I've had my students come back to me and say they were able to stand out in the crowd only because of their knowledge of Excel. So if you do not know Excel very well, start today itself. How to do it? Oh, there are more than enough tutorials available on Google. Some are free, some are paid. Just try them out. It'll take you a couple of hours. On Coursera, they have a 4-course set for Excel. Udemy also has everyone, so it's actually one of the skills. If you are not good with Excel, I will insist that you start on it right now, today itself, right? These are the hardware skills. But hardware ultimately is driven by software, isn't it? Any piece of hardware, it is always driven by software. As I argued in my recent LinkedIn article, it is not what you do in the job; it's how you approach the job that is very important. And these soft skills actually determine how you approach, your job, your environment, your organization, your role. So software skills, in my view, are extremely important. In fact, more important than your hardware skills. In fact, when I were used to actually recruit, these were some of the things which were extremely important. What are the important software skills to have? I think the most important skill to have, and this is a slide where I'll spend quite a bit of time. The most important skill is your thinking ability. You might say, thinking ability? Of course, we have it. Take a breath. Does everyone think? How well do you think? Is this thinking ability so widely prevalent? Don't answer to me, answer to yourself, and it'll open your eyes. At a more basic level, why is thinking ability important? I have only one point to say. Take people who have excelled in their discipline, any discipline, business leaders, analytics, sports, entrepreneurs, finance, any discipline. In fact, criminals. The one thing which is common across the best in their field is their significantly superior ability to think. So, how you will do it? That is how to develop your power of thinking. In fact, I can take a person who is extremely skilled, who knows Python very well. Yes, that is great. But if he can't think, I don't think he'll be very helpful to me. You can take a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink, right? The next important skill is creativity, the problem solving ability, right? You might say, oh my God, this abstract skills like creativity in a hard thing like maths and statistics and data. Yes, creativity is important. I'll give you, uh, you look at the world around us. Design thinking is becoming so important, almost keeping pace with the advances that are happening in the field of analytics. Why is design thinking becoming so important? Because we organizations want their people to actually improve on their creativity skills. I'll give you a very simple example. I was working in G Capital a long time back, around 18, 19 years back, and we used to have this problem of, the server running out of space. The server would always be at 98, 99% capacity. And we had to run our program, and we knew our program would, and it would be very, the kind of things that I did, and we all did, the creative ways in which we would manage it. This might be a very small thing, but you need to do that. It's extremely important to how do you see the basic question here is, are you interested in talking about your problems, or are you interested in talking about solutions? So this creativity really shows that you are more social, solution oriented. The next important skill is actually your networking skills. That is again extremely important. You have to collaborate with everyone around you. The more your network is, the better your chances of success, which is as simple as that. Making friends, you might say, oh, that's easy. I've got so many friends in Facebook. Believe me, it's extremely difficult. When I was studying at IIM Ahmedabad, 30 years back, in my batch of 180 students, there is just one person. There is just one person who is he is like beyond everyone. Even now, when I want to get any contact in any company, I call this person up and say, hey, Pankaj, can you just let me know about this? Networking skill is something that you definitely have to learn. Look at it another way. A related aspect to is or to networking skill is your ability to work as a team. As a manager, I realized that it is next to impossible to find all the skills in single person. It is like finding a perfect bride. Never going to happen. So I will recruit people with different skills. If you look around, you will see it all over the place. There are so many different types of role like data analyst, data engineer, data administrator, machine learning engineer, data scientist, data architect, statistician, business analyst, data manager, analytics manager, so many different roles. Why are they? So you are going to have one role. It will be important for you to actually function as a team. And this situation is going to become, it's already become even more difficult because we are going to live in a virtual world. Companies know that work from home can be effective to a certain degree, and from home is actually going to become the norm now. And if it is going to become the norm, how do you navigate it? So these are the core software skills which I believe are extremely important. But these are not the only skills. So to repeat, your thinking ability, your creativity, and your networking skill. Extremely important to have that. How are you doing on time? Okay. Yeah. Now the next level of skills. There are additional skills which are important. The first one is a communication skill. How many times have you heard that analytics is all about storytelling? In fact, business is all about storytelling. More important than your analysis is the manner in which you communicate. And PowerPoint is the language of the business. I'll share with you when I have to design my presentation, what I do is I take a blank presentation and I keep on thinking about what is the story I'm going to say. Once I get my story, my presentation is done. What do? I just start writing my story. How do I write the story? Each sentence goes as the title of a slide. So I create a blank presentation. So if somebody were to go over my slides, not this deck, but my business presentations, if they just read the title of the slides, they will get a summary. Now, the main part of the slide is really you are explaining the title that you have. That is how you should be making your deck. To repeat, you should have a story, and that story goes at the heading for each and every slide. So one line in each every slide. Create that blank presentation. Once you've created that blank presentation, then your secretary can also actually work on it, because that blank presentation, you just need to explain, support that line. That is all. It's an art. Believe me, develop it. You need to have clarity of thought. What does it mean? Do you know why you are doing what you are doing? Let me take an example. The example that I was taking about measures of central tendency. Measure of central tendency is really the very, 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 very basics of statistics, right? Mean, median, mode. How basic can it get? Believe me, when I was actually interviewing, and I used to ask this, can you believe that I was able to confuse these NBA aspirants in this year's CATS interview? Even on this aspect, forget about more complex aspect like how to find the maxima, how to find the minimum, even mean, median, mode. So, are you clear about it? That is extremely important. You read only so much, but be absolutely clear about it. I'll give you a little difficult example. So we say multicollinearity is an issue in regression. What if there is multicollinearity? How will it impact the results? What will happen to your final model? Do you know that? That's a kind of tangential way of looking at it. And once you know these kind of things, that is where it means that you have clarity of thought, right? And the last skill to have is actually, the value orientation. What does it mean? To put it simply, you are not in the world of analytics for the sake of analytics. No, you are not here for the sake of developing models. You are doing it to help improve the business. Suppose you develop a brilliant model. Suppose it's Kolmogov's period of KS statistic is 65. Brilliant model. Lift is 4. But if the business team do not use it, then what is the value of this model? But why would the business team not use the model? Probably because it does not exactly address the business issue. So, very closely linked to this is your customer centricity. Do you understand your client well? Do you understand your customer well, your company for whom you are working? Do you feel their pain when they get hurt? I remember going to Delhi School of Economics when I was in HSBC. And one thing which wowed me was, wow, the students are so business oriented. I clearly used to feel that analytics and business knowledge are like two banks of river, never to meet. You have to become the bridge which connects the two banks, and you will be successful if you do that. The most important thing, attitude. Oh, this is this is the one thing which I would always look for in my teams. Very simple, like the sentence I said earlier. You can take a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. Attitude defines it. While hard skills are important, if you do not have the right attitude, you will soon become a liability for the team. A phrase which I love, your attitude determines your altitude. You might have seen one video by Harsha Bogle. He gives the example of Sachin Tendulkar and Vinod Kambli. Vinod Kambli was supposed to be more talented than Sachin Tendulkar. Where is Vinod Kambli and where is Sachin Tendulkar? It all boils down to the attitude. He summarizes it so well in the video. It is not your talent that matters. It is what you do with your talent that matters. And what you do with your talent is all about your attitude. Do you have the right attitude? It's so brilliantly articulated by Harsha Bogle. Do watch that video. Sachin Tendulkar, Vinod Kambli, Harsha Bogle. If you just write these keywords in Google, this video will pop up on YouTube. So, in a sense, you are like a house. Your house will only be as strong as your foundation. And the core skills, the soft skills, are your foundation. You have to have them: thinking ability, problem solving, presentation, communication, networking, value orientation, clarity of thought. And on top of that, you will need to have your technical skills, the hard skills. Excel skills, maths, statistics, programming. Beyond that, you need to build your credibility and you need to have the right attitude. So this is kind of a summary. Is your foundation strong? Ask that question to yourself and start answering that. If you have the right attitude, you'll be able to move mountains. If you otherwise, you might be a brilliant person right now, but if you don't have the right attitude, you'll become a liability very soon. Experts will, so yes, great. The question that comes is, please tell me what exactly I should do. You will say, you are the expert, tell me, you are supposed to decipher the future for me. That's a good one. Should I go to I will say, take it with a pinch of salt. If someone says that they can predict what the shape of technology will be in the next forget about 5 years, 3 years, he is fooling himself. No one can predict the specifics. The only thing for certain we can say is whatever we are doing today is going to become obsolete tomorrow. That's a simple thing. What does it mean for you? You need to find your own comfort zone. Look at the field of data science over the last 5 years. Uh, 5 years back, it would have been just fine to know the hub and spokes of the field, to know about the basics, Hadoop, and all these things. But look at it now. You not just need to know about big data and analytics, but you need to be able to apply in a particular field. So people are looking for specialists in financial engineering, marketing analytics, supply chain experts. It's become much more intense. You have to find your comfort zone yourself. And that overall, I will end with this slide. Degree is extremely important, yes, not extremely important. Knowledge is even more important. Get the basics right. How active are you on GitHub? What's your Kaggle score? Practical applications are even more important. Ways to measure success are going to change. More importantly, remember one thing: the future is so uncertain that the nature of jobs also are going to be different. With that, I'll end my talk. Um, that is, it's been very nice talking to you. I will be happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Yes, Amar, it was a great
Yeah.
informative session.
Okay.
We have 2 more minutes for the session. So if any of the attendees want to ask any questions, please drop it at the Q&A tab. Also, Amar, I think you are waiting on the lounge area as well for some more time.
Yeah, I will be doing that. That's
Yeah,
fine.
so attendees can get hold of you there as well.
Sure.
Yeah. So if anybody has any questions right now,
yeah, there is one thing which I see Kaustav Patil has written, about, because I took the example of Apple.
Correct.
There are a lot of things. There are a lot of things about, there are a lot of things about Apple, about the companies which might not be true, which might be very difficult. But at heart, people love Apple, and they love Apple because of the experience they give. Like when I teach my classes and people are presenting, one thing I say is nobody is going to say any negative things about the presentation. Look at the three things right that the other person has done. The easiest thing in the world is to find fault. Look at the beauty of the other thing. And if you have that positive approach, your attitude will be right. Okay, so Kostav, I hope that answers the question. There are a lot of things, obviously the companies which are there. Yeah, and actually the company also has changed quite a lot from the time when Steve Jobs was there. They, for want of time, let me go over to Divyansh. He asked any tip for the beginners. Consistency. I'll tell you about one small thing. So when I was interviewing, this time for the CAT aspirants, one of the things they said, oh, last year we were sitting at home because of the pandemic. I said, great, you're sitting at home. What did you do during this time? Oh no, I was trying to indulge in my hobbies. They didn't have any particular, but they were interested in something. I used to ask them, tell me three business news that you have read recently. and many of them would not be able to answer. What is blockchain? They don't know. What is NLP? They don't know. Last year during pandemic, when I was sitting at home, now also the pandemic is there, but last year I completed around 5 Coursera courses. Go to Coursera, do that. How are you improving? Ask that question to yourself. How are you actually improving yourself every single day? If you will be able to do that, you will be able to convince others. Like, for example, these courses that I've done, were they all new courses? No. In fact, I did around, so out of all the courses that I've done earlier and now, I've done around 3, 4 courses on linear regression itself. Everyone has actually a different way of communicating. Somebody will say something new. Let me try to get to know that. The more I'll interact with them, the better it'll be. Divyansh, so not a very, but learn. That's the mantra. You have to get into. Even, why did I leave corporate job and come into academics? One of the things was I was not learning so much in the corporate job. In academics, the amount of learning that I've done is phenomenal, right? So that would be my thing. So you have been. Can you account for each and every day that you have spent? See, a gap of 6 months when I'm interviewing people, gap of 6 months is not bad. But if you're not able to explain what you are doing in those 6 months, now that is bad. Are you able to explain that? Keep these very simple things in mind. And if you keep these simple things in mind, you will be able to do good. Okay? So
Very
I'll take
rightly,
a pause now.
yes, very rightly pointed out, Amar. I mean, what
Yeah,
exactly you're doing to improve yourself every day? It's very,
yeah,
very good question. I think we all need to ask that to ourselves. A
yeah,
very informative session. Please, attendees, if there are more questions, please reach out to him, and I'm sure he'll be happy to answer them. But thank you so much, Amar, for doing this.
yeah.
See you around. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Take care and keep safe, keep healthy. Stay
You,
safe, keep healthy. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Bye.